The trick to making videos is to show up and make a video. That's really all there is. There are lots of steps, however, and I am probably about 8 or 9 videos into this series. And of course, as we learn, we grow, we go in cycles, and we pick up new things, and we learn, and we make mistakes. And I'm learning that these videos do get easier, and I'm also learning that my insistence on keeping a list is still there, yet my ability to follow the list is not quite there. So going live is also tricky because you just don't know when it's going to start. So I'm just going to start now. Folks, I'm David Bourne, and I'm here to talk about Michael Singer, who has written several books that have influenced me. He has a podcast that's on the Sounds True network where he releases regularly talks. I think they're talks he makes mostly in his home in Florida, Central Florida. Michael is a leader in the, I don't know what you'd call it, the spiritual space. And a lot of folks, when I say spiritual space, think woo-woo, and Michael's not very woo-woo. Why is Michael not very woo-woo, and what do I mean by woo-woo, in case you don't know what that means? Woo-woo is kind of like spiritual, wishy-washy, mushy, not sure what. He's not like that. He's a very practical guy. It's one of the things I like about Michael so much. And I've read his 3 books and listened to many of his podcasts, as I've said, and they make a huge difference in the way that I understand the world. And ultimately, I think his teaching is to help us to let go of what? You know, I mentioned woo-woo. Well, what does that mean? Are we just going to let go of everything and become, hippie freaks that live out in the woods? Part of that sounds appealing. But no, that's not what we are saying. That's not what he's saying. That's not what I'm saying. Letting go means letting go of the things that are holding you back from living a very, very full life, whatever that means to you. And what it means to me when I talk about it is a more and more spiritual life, in the sense that not necessarily religion, though religion can certainly be a part of your spiritual growth. It is part of mine. One of my steps is forgetting to set my timer. So here we go. Letting go of what he calls samskaras, which I think is an ancient term from Sanskrit. A lot of his teachings come from the East, based on Hinduism, I believe. It really doesn't matter. These things, that part doesn't matter. Of course, it's interesting, and I want to get it right, but these samskaras, these are blockages, what I would call mental blocks, right? So things that get in our way. It's the resistance. I've been talking about the resistance time and time again in these episodes. And that resistance, as I define it, is that part of us that holds us back from becoming the best self that we can be, that true self, that true, relaxed, confident, intuitive self. The intuitive self that most efficiently uses our brain power and our body power and our physical energy. So I'm making this recording because Michael is releasing a new book. I just watched a video from Sounds True of Michael, Tony Robbins, and his wife Sage. They are big fans of Michael as well. Tony and Sage are big in the personal growth field. I've mentioned Tony Robbins before because he was one of the first people that showed me a cyclical framework for seeing growth And I said, wow, that's a lot like the hero's journey. And a few years later, I started writing about it. Michael Singer's work is, I found that more recently, but it's made a huge influence on me. And so I encourage you to look up Michael Singer. I'm going to talk about some of his ideas. I'm excited to get his book that comes out on March 16th, 2026. It's called Wisdom Untethered, I believe. And so I just wanted to make a video about Michael and to stress the importance of the teachings he's given me. Now, I'm going to flip over here to the, by the way, this is the Born for the Journey series. I'm David Bourne. And I'm going to go over here to my drawing where I talk about this, this map that I use. I call it the recreation cycle. I also call it the 4PART cycle, because you've got possibility or plan, you've got action, you've got results, and then you've got your truth. That's the PART. See that? Truth. And that true self, that's really what we're working towards here, is this truth. The true self up here, just your true north, whatever is in your life that is guiding you the most strongly, that thing that's an intuitive sense of your purpose. You may not know what it is, but you have a desire to get there. It's that part of us that is conscious. It's the part of us that can feel the resistance coming up. How do we know that? How do we see a thought? This is a big Michael Singer concept he's helped me solidify. How do we know we're having a thought? Because we can witness the thought. Well, what part of you is witnessing the thought? Well, that's your true self that's witnessing the thought. You're actually stopping and relaxing and stopping that thought train, the unconscious thought train that we so often get in whenever we get hung up on something. I was hung up on something yesterday and I just could not stop thinking about it. But I remembered, oh, here I am thinking about it again. Let me just relax and breathe. Relax and breathe. One thing Michael also has taught me is to use this right side of the brain. Now, if we were to split this in the middle, we would have logic and left. Can you see this? Yes, my face is not in the way. Logic and left, and then we've got intuition on the right. So what Michael does is he gets us into, change of pen here just to be different, green pen, we're having a thought, right? We're having a thought, it's getting into our body, we've got our resistance down here. I cannot write when I'm talking. Michael would call this a samskara, I think. Samskara. I don't know what that means, but I think of it as a scar. That scar, it's a place in our body and our nervous system where we have withheld, where we are repressing a thought, a feeling that we don't like. We've rejected it. It's our shadow self in terms of Jungian technology. Carl Jung came up with the idea of the shadow, and it's that part of us that we don't want to talk about, we don't want to know. It's connected to the idea of sin and religion, the resistance. So we have this, we're just going along, we have this thought, we meet this resistance, and we kind of get stuck here, and we don't get into our right brain. We get stuck, we go back and we think again, and we do this mind loop. Gosh, it's so messy. I don't mean to be so messy. But we get back and forth between mind, which is our logical self up here, and our body, which is where the resistance and the samskaras live, is just back and forth and back and forth. Well, look, you're not making the cycle when you do that. You're just going back and forth, back and forth. We're totally ignoring that wonderful, loving, connecting, creative, exciting, joyful part of ourselves, which is over here in the right. Okay? So, Michael says, he doesn't use these terms, but he says, you got to let go. In order, if you want to get up here, you got to let go, Another thing he's taught me, which he's not real, there's my 7-minute marker. He's not real, excuse me, I got to turn off my timer here to keep me on track. Michael is not really saying this in the terms that I'm saying it, but what I see that he's doing when you let go, he jumps into this wonder field. He jumps into this sense of awe and wonder and gratitude, and that is so much here in our right brain. He jumps in there and he starts talking about metaphysics, and he starts talking about astronomy. If you're familiar with his work, you will have known how often he does this. What I think he's doing is he's showing us how to get into our right side of our brain so that we can really let go of those resistances, and we can relax and we can go, why am I so worked up? I'm going to switch over. Why the heck am I so worked up about this tiny problem that is so teeny tiny? He talks about how many millions of Earths will fit into the sun, meaning the Earth is so tiny, and I'm such a tiny part. And here I have this one chance to live in this moment, and I'm ruining it. I'm ruining the moment because I'm focusing on what's wrong with the moment. But if you would just focus on the awe and wonder of what it means to be alive and be joyful, then he shows us how to get into that right brain and how to start to connect to what he calls consciousness, and that he doesn't use true self, but he says the self. That's what's right up here, is this self that, I wonder if I can move this layer so you can read this a little bit better. What if I were to put, no, I'm drawing on the wrong layer. Dang it, I just drew all over my clean layer. See, I didn't set this up closely enough. This gets me back to the beginning of the conversation. I'm trying to make these videos, right? And I got a lot of hang-ups about it because there's so many moving parts and so many technical pieces, and I would just want to get them all right. Well, what I think Michael would tell me is, don't worry about getting them right, just do it. Just live in this more giving, loving, right side of yourself. He wouldn't use those terms. He doesn't talk about right and left. He talks about heart and mind, emotions and mind, but he talks about just being in your true self and letting go of all these little pieces that I might get wrong. Sure, okay, I'm going to get them wrong. I just drew on the wrong layer, so it's kind of a mess. Oh well. Oh well. I am getting a little bit better. I am learning. I am feeling like I'm doing this thing that I've really wanted to do for years. It was just to be able to sit down, talk about something cool, and share an idea. So that's what I've done. So I can end it there. I encourage you to check out Michael Singer. He's got 3 or 4 books. The new one's coming out March 16th, and I'm excited to read it, and I believe it's called Wisdom Untethered. I'm going to be looking into Singer's work more and more, because today's the 11th. Hell, it's coming out in just a few days. I'll be looking more and more into his work for the next few days, just to so when I get that book, I'm going to really be ready to dive in. And so I encourage you to dive in with me. I'm David Bourne. This is the Born for the Journey series. We've been talking about how Michael Singer helps you let go. I hope that you have found something helpful in that, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.